So I want to welcome Karalyn Hingston, Executive Officer of the foodplantsolutions.org website. And she's going to share with us about some amazing programs that they have executed and are doing worldwide that we can all learn from and can all benefit from. So welcome, Karalyn, to Heart and Soil.
Thank you, Natalie. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, so Karalyn, tell us a little about yourself and how you became involved with the Food Plant Solutions initiatives.
Sure. I grew up. I'm an Australian, born in the state of Tasmania, which is an island state, and I grew up on a farm, and certainly agriculture is in my blood. I did an apprenticeship in agriculture and a diploma of agriculture and business management. And I worked in the agricultural industry, in the conventional industry for, 20 odd years, I suppose. And I was introduced to this role, and I'd never heard of Food Plant Solutions, had no idea what it was about. And was offered this role, and I distinctly remember the interview, and it was explained to me what Food Plant Solutions does, and the person interviewing me said, "What do you think of it?" And I just remember saying, "It's a no-brainer. Why doesn't everyone know this, and why isn't everyone doing it?" And that was in 2012, and I've been here ever since.
That's awesome. I love it. So tell us what Food Plant Solutions is and what it does and how it's a no-brainer.
Okay. So I'm gonna digress a little bit so that I can give you the complete picture. About 50 years ago, Tasmanian agricultural scientist Bruce French finished university and went to work in Papua New Guinea. And he was teaching ag students up there, and it wasn't long into his teaching that the students came to him and said, "Look, we're really interested in what you're teaching us, but could you teach us about our plants? You're teaching us about Western plants." And Bruce searched, 50 years ago, Bruce searched for information on local plants in PNG and could find next to nothing. So he has spent the last 50 plus years of his life creating the world's largest database of edible plants. What he does is he researches other people's information and collates it in a fully referenced database. It's Bruce is in his mid-70s and he adds to it still now, nearly every day. It's an incredible tool because it lists over 32,000 edible plants for all countries of the world, and yet we only eat as a world. We only eat regularly a very small proportion of those. So there's this untapped wealth of food available that many of us don't know anything about. So that's where Food Plant Solutions was formed. It was formed in 2007. By a Rotary Club. It's a Rotary-based organisation, but it's not limited to or anything like that with Rotary. Sorry, my partner's just gone to work. It's not. Bruce presented at the Rotary Club, and they immediately recognised the great power and potential of this organisation, of Bruce's database, and so formed Food Plant Solutions. And what we do is we're specialists at extracting information. Certainly if I was to hand the layperson a database, it would take them some time to understand it and really extract the information and be able to really make use of it. So what we do is we extract information for a country or region and identify what we consider could be potentially important food plants for that country or region. We say they're potentially important because they're known to grow there. We never introduce plants. They grow with minimal inputs. We talk about sustainable organic growing methods. We talk about nutrition. So many people now no longer understand what nutritious food is, why human bodies need it, and what to grow and eat. So if we're going to talk to people about gardening, then let's give them the big picture. Let's explain to them what nutrients are and how your body uses them, and therefore what plants to grow to ensure you've got a diverse diet. And so we work all around the world, but we don't go to any countries all around the world. So we work with existing NGOs, whether they be government, non-government, Rotary, regardless of their size. So we identify reputable partners and work with them. They will be established, they're local, they know their community, they know how to empower their community, and then we tailor-make materials for them so that they can use that information.
So powerful. I looked up some of your one sheet, so like a one sheet on what to grow in like in a rural area in the middle of Africa, and how to grow it, and also, like you said, organically and sustainably, and with that and that you're also teaching them about soil health, so how to build that soil and to grow species which actually grow in their area. It's all so powerful. And you tell them what the nutritional value of the different plants, and you tell them how to plant them, when to plant them, how long they take to grow. It's not just plant the seed and watch it, which is also very valuable part of it. It's a tool. It's like the toolbox is so rich. There's so many parts that are covered, and I just think that's so awesome. And the database that Bruce has put together is, I don't know that I've seen anything like it.
I mean, if you think, I mean, he's an incredible man, because he's chosen to use his spare time to create this database over the last 50 years to help end hunger and malnutrition. And of course, we continue to just see these huge benefits from it, huge benefits.
And I love all the tools and instruments you've put together for people. And I don't mean like a tool as in a shovel to dig a hole, but informational tools of how to start community gardens, how to start a school garden. And it's not just in a community that has all the provisions, but it's like, when you don't have the provisions, how do you start? Where do you start? Who do you talk to? What conversations do you have? What questions do you ask? Where can you source seeds? Where can you source information from? And you put all that information into your different resources. And I have deep appreciation for that. And it's also readily available. Anybody can access the information.
Correct. It's free. As soon as we create a material, there's a cost to create it, obviously, but once that we've created it, everything goes onto our website and can be downloaded and distributed in that format as many times at no cost, because it might be a bit of a utopian view, but we want everyone to have access to this. And the reason that it's on our website free of charge is because, generally speaking, the people who need it most can't afford to be paying for it, because our information is as applicable to somewhere in a developing country as it is in a developed country, because in developed countries, so many people now do not understand what food actually is. All of our resources are under our programs tab. So if you go to our homepage, you'll see some tabs across the top, and all of our available resources are listed under there. If there's, and I mean, obviously we haven't got every country of the world, and we certainly don't have all the regions, but if there's information that you're specifically after that's not there, then shoot us an email and we can have a discussion about it. So
I love that. That is really good to know, Karalyn. Thank you. Thank you for that invitation.
It provides really basic
Mhm.
information on if you've never started a garden before, regardless of whether it's one pot on a balcony or you're wanting to turn over soil, it will talk you through the process. Things you need to consider, tools, equipment you might need, those sorts of things. As I mentioned before, I encourage people also just look in your own backyard, look in your own community, and look who might be doing it a bit tough, particularly because of COVID, because we also make these, call them brief guides now, that allow people that have never gardened before to start gardens in however they live, whether it be in an apartment or whether it be in a house with a backyard, whatever the case may be. So our approach, what we create, is as applicable to a developing country as it is a developed country. So please look in your local community and think about what groups might also benefit from this information.
I love that. And Karalyn, what connects you to this mission? What gives you meaning in the work that you're doing?
I believe in it. I mean, there's 32,000 edible plants in the world. We spend billions of dollars on aid and worldwide, and there's all these edible plants in every country of the world that are being ignored. So there is absolutely a need for aid. I'm not saying that for a minute, that there's not, so please don't misinterpret that. But there's just this great opportunity to empower people so that they can be self-sufficient, they can be proud of their local food plants, and they should be proud of their local food plants. And we have obesity soaring all across the world. Well, again, this has the potential to be an answer to that. So our belief is that if we get nutrition right from the time of conception, and a child is able to grow up healthy and strong, then every intervention after that has far more impact, because that a child has the ability to make the most out of those other interventions. Whereas if a child's malnourished and becomes stunted and then has cognitive issues because of it, as often happens, then every intervention after that is never going to have the same impact. So if we get our nutrition right, we open our countries, our communities up to so much more opportunity.
Tell us a little bit more about that malnutrition deficit that's happening globally, and when that is addressed. So I'd like to know what that really looks like, that so people can really have a deep understanding, because we hear about malnutrition being an issue, or global, we have to make enough food to feed the world. And so I'd love to hear your thoughts on that piece. And then the other part of the question is the impact that growing their own food within their communities is having on their families and having on their communities.
Sure. So it's really interesting, because until I started with Food Plant Solutions, I was quite ignorant about malnutrition. It was an issue in my mind for developing countries, and it was there, but I didn't really consider it. But when you see photos from our program partners of children that are unconscious because they're just skin and bone, and their dad is holding them, and they're at a health centre trying to get help, and even if that child survives, because they're so young, because they've been malnourished for so long, then they are never going to live the life that they could have lived because of the cognitive impairment they will have suffered from it. They will be more susceptible to non-communicable diseases. They will earn less than their peers, and if they're a little girl and they grow into a young woman, they will probably also repeat the cycle because they just won't have the ability to do anything different. And I find that heartbreaking because every child matters. Every child should have the right to have nutritious food. And it's not that parents don't care. It's the situations parents find themselves in. In many cases, they're doing what their parents did. And again, this is the same situation all around the world in developed countries. You will see people going out and purchasing food night after night after night, and it's saturated fats and full of sugar and full of additives, and it's not nutritious food. And they're not doing it because they don't care. They're doing it because they don't know the impact and they don't know any better. And I just think that, we just think that we've seen videos of women in developing countries that for young babies, they chew the food themselves, the adults chew the food, take it out of their mouth and then give it to the baby. But nearly all the nutrients are lost. But the women didn't realise this has been a custom for hundreds of years. And so our program partners, using our materials, identify nutritious foods, show them how they can actually be cooked or mushed up using the tools, the primitive tools that they have. And we've got these photos of these chubby little children that are being fed this food, and their heads are chasing the food, and it's just fantastic. And I mean, most parents want what's best for their children, and so it's about ensuring that we empower and we support and we don't judge, and that we're kind, and we enable people to feel confident to make these sort of informed choices. As far as impact, one of our most successful projects is in Vietnam. It started in 2012. It was a pilot school program, and I think it started with 2 schools. It's expanded to 17 schools, 2 provinces, well over 3,000 children directly impacted every day. There's indirect benefits from it. So the teachers have said to us they've learned so much about plants, parts that they didn't even know were edible, and that they and their families are now eating. Children are provided with a nutritious lunch every day, as opposed to bought food that they were provided with before. So the school saves money. Parents seeing the benefit of it start replicating it in their home gardens. And malnutrition in a 12-month period across 8 schools that were measured, it reduced by between 40 and 100%. So it's powerful. Wow. It's really powerful.
Super powerful, right, Karalyn? And so what I'm hearing is that just by growing smaller gardens, we actually may be able to impact and actually do impact global hunger.
Absolutely.
And global malnutrition, because there's this illusion that we have to monocrop and have massive monocrops and massive genetically modifying things to make them more nutritious and delicious, but you are on the ground showing people that it can be done in very different ways, just right in our own backyards.
Let me tell you something, and this will be a little bit controversial, but there was some money, I think it was about $40 million was given to a project in Uganda to create what they call the super banana. because they had nutrient deficiencies and they wanted to address it. So they gave $40 million to modify this banana so that it became the super banana. What's really sad about that is there are 238 varieties of banana that grow in Uganda, and I'll bet money that not every single variety was even looked at, let alone tested, to see if it could already be provide the answer, because I'll be astounded if not, maybe there wasn't one, but maybe there were 3 that you needed to eat in it, which is part of a diverse diet.
Mm-hmm.
And instead there was $40 million spent. These are the sort of things that we do that are done with really, really good intention. And I'm not saying at all that technology doesn't have a part to play, because it absolutely does. But there needs to be a balance between the focus on technology and just what we've already got and how we can better utilise that.
Thank you for sharing that story. Super powerful. And I think it's really important to, name the disconnect that's happening between what we say we want and how we're spending our money. And also notice the connection to what we already do have, and the power that is given to the people when they are given tools to grow their own food and to connect with their own food. There's nothing more powerful than that, right?
No.
And so Karalyn, one last question. What would you say is the most important part and piece of your program and the work that you do?
Oh, that's a tough question. I guess the most important part is just recognising that you don't only have to eat the 5 regular veggies that you're familiar with, that there's a whole wealth of food that grows in your country that you've probably never even heard of, let alone considered. And so from that, there is huge opportunities.
Exciting. And what are the next steps for your organization, and how can we best support you to grow and to have the outreach that that you want to have?
Well, certainly there's numerous ways. Obviously, talking about it, sharing us with your network. The more people who know about us, the more people that will actually benefit. Introducing us to community groups, NGOs, anyone like that, anyone who's interested, basically. And then, of course, there's financial support. There is a real cost to what we do, and we're not here to make money. Every single publication that we create is created at cost. There's no, charge for profits or anything like that. So, and we're always trying to find funding for publications. We're constantly looking for a sponsor, some business or organisation that can help support us and just make so that we can focus on best what we do, rather than trying to figure out how we're going to fund the next publication. So there's some of the things that anyone could assist us with, and we'd be most grateful.
If it's a cause that you feel connected to support, then go to the website. Do you have a donate button there, or how does that work?
Yes.
Yeah, donate. Okay, so check out Bruce's website as well, foodplantinternational.com, and hopefully we'll have an opportunity to have a conversation with him too, because he sounds like a phenomenal, an amazing human being. And so we have so much gratitude for the work that you are doing from his database, and for the work that he has done to serve our planet and humanity and regeneration in a multitude of ways. So thank you so much for joining us, Karalyn. Really enjoyed connecting with you.
Likewise. Thanks, Natalie.